Today, we are building Dontpad, a simple note-sharing application inspired by Dontpad using Flask and SQLite. The idea is simple. Every unique URL becomes its own node. Just open URL, start typing, and your note is instantly available to share. Behind the scenes, Flask receives each request, checks SQLite for an existing node, and returns it to the browser. If the node doesn't exist, Dontpad automatically creates one, so there's no sign up or setup required. As you type, every change is automatically saved in the background, keeping your notes synchronized with the database in real time. With a lightweight architecture and just a few core components, Dontpad delivers a fast and effortless way to create and share notes. Now, let's build it from scratch. So, we will be starting by opening our terminal, and then we will cd into our code directory. Now I want to make a new project, so I'll write what I want to make. Since I'm creating a Dontpad clone, so I'm probably gonna name it as Dontpad, because why not? Now let's cd into Dontpad. Now what I want to do is activate my environment, so let's just quickly do that. If I know how to type it, that is. And we will be installing only one requirement, which is Flask, so let's just activate it. I'm just so bad at typing today, but don't mind me. And we'll do pip install Flask. That's all we'll be needing, and it should install since it should already be cached. Now it got installed. Now I'm gonna open my code editor. Now moving on to creating the file structure. So I'm gonna be creating an app.py file, and I'll be creating a templates directory where our HTML code is gonna be. Inside this, I'll create an index.html. I would be needing a static where I can store my CSS, and I will be creating a new file which is style.css, or you can call it just call it style.css. Now going into our app.py, we will import some requirements. First of all, we're gonna be importing Flask, so let's write from Flask import Flask. Along with this, we'll import render template and request, and we'll be needing JSONify. Now since we will be working with our SQLite, so we're gonna be importing SQLite 3 as well. Now let's start by creating an app, and I'm gonna call it Flask. Let's give it the name as name. So we will also be needing a database, and let's make it a constant and let's call it notes.db, which is gonna be the name of our database. Now I will be speedrunning some functions one by one, and I'll be explaining what is the purpose of that function. So let me create my first function, which is gonna be known as getDB, and let's hit the time lapse. So this is my first function, and this function just starts a connection and returns the connection whenever it's asked. So now we're gonna be initializing the database. So I'll be naming my function as initDB, and I'll be again speedrunning this function. Now I made another function called initDB, which initializes the DB and creates the tables that we need. So we will be needing two tables. One of them is called slug, another one is called content. So slug is basically gonna be the name or the path of the file that we will be using, and content is just gonna be the content inside it. That's the two things that you need. Moving on, now we're gonna be initializing the DB whenever we run the program. And we will start by creating our first route, which is gonna be the home page. So let's write at app.route and define it as home. Now let's return a text, matter of fact, which is gonna be an HTML formatted text, and let's just give it a name. Let's call it Dontpad, as we were supposed to. Header. I'm just making a very normal, very generic, header, and maybe let's add a paragraph and call it visit any URL to create a note. That's it, I guess. You can just visit any URL and you can create a note. And this is gonna be our first route. Now moving on, we're gonna be creating another route and we're gonna be calling it slug, which is basically gonna be the path that we're gonna be taking. So we can do app.route and do /slug. Now pay attention here because there's gonna be a lot that goes in there. Let's name the function as note, and let's have a parameter which is just gonna be the path as slug. We're gonna be connecting to the DB again, so let's do con equals to get DB, and we'll check if the path already exists. So we're gonna be checking if note equals run dot execute, and we can just select everything from notes where slug can be equal to something, right? And that something is basically gonna be slug or anything if it exists. So you're gonna be passing the tuple as well. Since it's a tuple, why am I doing that? Select everything where slug equals to slug, so basically checking the path. And since it's tuple, don't forget to add a comma. Many people make this mistake and they don't add a comma, and it becomes a string or an integer or whatever the value that you pass. So make sure that you add a comma so it becomes a tuple. Now we're gonna be fetching, so let's do dot fetch one, and if it exists then we're gonna be loading it, or otherwise if note is none, if it's none we have to create one. So let's execute and let's insert data into our table. So let's write insert into notes slug, and what was it? If I'm not wrong, it is content. So let's write content. Now values are gonna be equal to comma for now, and we're gonna be passing in slug, and we're also gonna be passing in the default value. So this is the default value, which is just a string, an empty string. Now we're gonna be committing to the DB, and now we can continue. So you can do connection, so dot execute, and we can select everything from notes. So we're gonna be now selecting the data that we fetched, the data that we put in notes where slug is gonna be equal to the slug value, which is, again, make sure you add a comma so it becomes a tuple. And we're gonna be doing fetch one. Now we can close the connection, so we can do con.close. Now we have the value in the note variable, so it's either gonna fetch it or it's gonna create a new one and then fetch it. Now moving on, we have to just render the template, which is gonna be our index.html file, and the slug is gonna be slug. We're gonna be passing some parameters. First of all, it's gonna be slug, and the other one, it's gonna be content, which is gonna be equal to note and then the content. So the content in it. So this finishes our first route, which is slug. Now we have to save the slugs as well, so we will be moving on to create another route, which is gonna be saving the slug. So this is also a bit complicated, but you all can follow along and I'll be explaining the code as right. So we'll create another path and we'll call it /save, and then I'll pass in slug, so it saves in the ID, and it's gonna be a post method, so we can pass in methods equals to, and then we can pass in post. Now I'll create this function and call it save, and then the slug parameter. Now data is gonna be the data that we're gonna be getting, so request.getJSON, because we'll be passing it as a JSON, and now we're gonna be connecting to the DB. So we'll just connect to the DB, and we're gonna be updating as we write. So we can do something like update notes, set content, and then the value of the content where slug is gonna be equal to something. Now we can pass in the values as data, so we can not like this, it's a dictionary, we need a bracket, like a round bracket, and we can do data should be content, so this content is gonna be whatever is gonna be inside the data, and we're gonna be passing the slug. So if I explain you this code till here, what we are doing is we are fetching, we're gonna be making, when we are gonna be typing, we're gonna be making post requests, and we're gonna be fetching the data that we send through the JSON. We're gonna be connecting to the database, and then we will be updating the database based on whatever the content is gonna be. So it's gonna be a real-time update. You don't have to press on any save button or whatsoever. Now we're gonna be committing to the database, so the changes get saved, and we're gonna be closing the database. Make sure you close the database, otherwise it's gonna keep on creating new threads, and after a while it's just gonna, when you're gonna be hosting it, it's just gonna run out of threads. Now we're gonna be JSONifying the success result, so we need to return that we successfully wrote the data. So this is another route that we created, and now we have 3 routes. First of all, we have the home, then we have slug, which is basically what do you call it, it's basically where your the notes are gonna be, and now that I'm looking at it, it's gonna be under this brackets. There's it's an ID, it's not /slug, it's gonna be, it can be any name, and when there is a new name, it's gonna create a new one. So we are done with that, and I hope you understood the new function as well. If there is no data, then it's gonna create a data, otherwise it's gonna continue whatever was in the database. Now we just need to run the app, so let me just quickly run the app. So I'm gonna be doing if name equal main, so it only runs when I'm running the file directly and not if I'm importing it anywhere. I can just do app.run. We can put in host, so it's available on local network as well, and then I can pass in debug equals true, so it's hot reload, and that should be it. Now we are done with our app.py file, so let's move on to our index.html. So moving on to index.html, there's not much code that has to be written here, because most of it is gonna be us fetching in the values. So I'll start by creating this template, which you can do by just putting in an exclamation mark and hitting enter on VS Code. And instead of having the document as the name, we can pass in slug as the name. So we can do something like slug, which is gonna be the name of our, or the title of our, or the path of our note, and we can do Dontpad, so it looks good. Now we need a header as well, so inside the body, what I want to do is write div. So I'll create another div. I like working with divs, so I just want to create a div and call it header, and I am gonna create a span, and I'm gonna call it slug. So this is gonna be appearing on like a note, like a nav bar, so you can see the slug written where the welcome is. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna create a span, and I'm gonna make an ID, and I'm gonna call it status. It's gonna be on the other side, it's gonna be on the right side, where it's gonna be saying it's either saved, it's saving. So for now I'm gonna put it as saved, and I can use JavaScript to edit it later. So this is that part. Now it's just a text area, so you can put in name or anything, but I prefer using IDs. So I'll just put in an ID and I'll call it editor, and the value is gonna be the content that we put in. So let's just put in content, because why not? Now this is the content of the text area. Now we can start with our scripting. So let's create a script, and this is the main part, so I hope you pay attention here as well. I want a constant called as editor, which is gonna be document.getElementById, and the ID is gonna be the editor. So this area is what we need to fetch. and I also want a status, because we're gonna be changing the status as well, right? From saved to saving and all. So status is gonna be again document dot get element by id, and let's call it status. So we will be editing these two. Editor is basically gonna be the content, and status is just gonna be fluctuating between saved and saving. Now I want a timeout, so I don't just save it on every key press. So I'll do let timeout, and I'll create an event listener. So I'll add event listener, and I'm gonna call it input. So every time there is an input, then what I want to do is create an arrow function, and I'll show you what I want to do. So we're gonna be changing the status. So we'll do status.text content, status.text content oops, should be equal to saving. So there's that, and now I'm gonna be clearing timeout, and this is gonna be the timeout. So there is no timeout, and timeout is actually gonna be me setting up a timeout. So I can do timeout./set equals to set timeout. I can do something like this. I can create an async function, async arrow function with no parameters, and I can do await, and I can fetch the content. So I can do I can post the I can send a post request to save / and then the slug name, which what is gonna be, and it should be a post request. So let me create a method which is gonna be equal to post, as you might know. We create some headers. The header is just gonna be content type, which is, you might know, is gonna be JSON. So I'll put that applications/JSON, because it's a JSON. And now I want the body, which is again gonna be a JSON. So body should be JSON.stringify, and let me just get the JSON here. So it's gonna be content editor and whatever the value of the editor is. So editor.value, and I think I have to put a semicolon here because this is where it's ending. Am I missing something? Where is this function ending? Okay, that's the end, and this is the end for this. Yep, that should be correct. Or is it? Oh yeah, it should be correct. Yeah. Now I can do status. I can update the status again to saved, because while it will be saving, it will say saving, and if it's done, it will say saved. If not, then I'll just return an internal server error. So this is basically how it's gonna work, and let me put another semicolon. Now we are done with our scripts, and if I have to explain this, what we are doing here is we're getting two elements. First of all, the first one is status, which is gonna be on the top right, and it's gonna say if it's saving or if it's saved. And the second one is gonna be the editor itself, or the first one is the editor and the second one is the status. Now editor is where we will be writing the content, and when we will be writing the content, since it's a text area, we can edit it. So it will look for an input, and if it gets an input, and if there is a timeout of like 500 milliseconds, so there's a delay, and it's always gonna be looking for that 500 millisecond delay, and it will only start saving after the 500 millisecond has passed. And when it's passed, what it's gonna do is it's gonna clear the timeout first of all, and then it will set a timeout of 500, and while setting the timeout, it will I created an async arrow function where I'm just sending a post request to /save/slug, and if you go back to /save/slug, it's basically getting the content and updating the database. So this is the content, and the value is gonna be whatever value we have typed. So this is really simple. I hope you guys understood. Now moving on to style.css. Well, I already have the code for style.css, and there is not much, and I don't want to go deep into getting the CSS value and all. Now we are done with the coding part and we will be moving into our testing part. So open your terminal again and you can just type py app.py and hope that it works. Well, it's running, and if I click on the browser, it opens the browser and it's asking me to go to a URL. So let's just go to hello, and I can see that our CSS is not loaded. So if I go here and if I do link and I do, where is the CSS? Yeah, styles, and I can just do /static /style.css. Now if I reload it, look, it works, and I can type any content here and it will be saved in the database. So if you look, it changes. If you're gonna focus here and I write some content here, you can see it getting updated real time, you know. And if I go back to the home page, maybe if I want, I can create another page called it as IU, because why not? And this is another page and it gets updated. And if I go back to hello, you can see my content is there. So it's a very simple Dontpad alt, and you can also see that there's also the name as Dontpad. And if you go into the home page, it should say it's saying nothing, but I can add a title if I want. I'm not gonna do that right now. If I go into hello, it will say hello. So voila, your code is working, and it's a very simple Dontpad clone, and you can actually host this thing if you're gonna be using a cloud-based database like a Mongo or Postgres or anything which you can host. You can connect to it, or if you're going to be hosting it in a VPS, you can even use the SQLite as well, and you can just make it. So it was very simple, and yeah.